You're scrolling through your feed, watching someone post from a tropical beach or posing next to a brand new car, and you can't help but wonder, how are they affording this? Are they doing something I'm not? We spend a lot of time measuring our own bank accounts against the people around us. We assume there's a standard baseline, a normal way to handle money that most people have figured out. But most of us are guessing. We have almost no idea what the typical person's finances actually look like behind closed doors. To figure out where you really stand, we need to strip away the assumptions and the social media posts. We need to look at the raw, unvarnished mathematical reality of the typical American. This data reveals why being average is the most dangerous financial position you can hold and points to the specific adjustments needed to avoid it. To diagnose someone's financial health, the best place to start is their personal income statement, looking at exactly what comes in and what goes out. This bar represents the median individual income for a full-time worker in the US, roughly $52,000 a year. But after federal and state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare take their cut, that take-home pay shrinks down to a core of about $35,000 to $40,000. Now, let's look at the other side of the equation. This larger bar shows the average household spending, which totals about $67,000 per year. Even in households with more than one earner, the data shows a persistent gap between what an individual takes home and what a household actually spends. When we break that spending down, the pressure points become obvious. Almost $1,900 a month goes directly to housing costs, like rent, mortgages, and utilities. Add in another $900 a month for transportation, car payments, insurance, and gas, and more than half the budget is gone before anyone even buys groceries. The math here is unyielding. The typical American's cash flow is inverted. They are required to push more money out the door than a single median income can support, leaving them to bridge that gap month after month. So how exactly does someone bridge a gap like that? For the typical household, the answer is consumer debt. Looking at this metric, you might assume everything is fine. This dial shows the average American FICO score sitting at 715. That is firmly in good credit territory, suggesting people are generally paying their bills on time. But if we look underneath that score, we find the average household dragging around over $9,000 in revolving credit card debt. Unlike a mortgage, which is tied to an asset that usually holds value, this debt covers consumer goods and dinners out. It carries interest rates of 20% or higher, meaning a household bleeds nearly $2,000 a year just to service the interest. For the average American, a 715 credit score reflects a reliable history of paying high interest to banks to maintain a lifestyle they haven't actually earned. When daily cash flow is that tight and consumer debt is that expensive, there is very little left over to build actual assets. Right now, Americans save an average of just 6% of their after-tax income. This pie chart illustrates the most immediate consequence of that low savings rate. This missing quarter represents the 25% of Americans who have exactly $0 saved for retirement. For those who do manage to save, the median balance for people aged 65 and older, the group hitting retirement right now, is only $88,000. To understand what $88,000 actually buys you in retirement, financial planners use the 4% rule. It's a guideline that dictates how much you can safely withdraw from your investments each year without running out of money. When you apply that 4% withdrawal rate to an $88,000 nest egg, it generates about $3,500 a year. That breaks down to roughly $300 a month to live on. Consider the timeline. The average American retires at age 61, but full Social Security benefits don't kick in until age 67. That $300 a month has to bridge a 6-year gap and then stretch across a retirement that could last another 2 decades. If you follow the standard script, earning an average income, spending an average amount, and carrying an average debt load, the math leads directly here. A lifetime of completely normal financial decisions mathematically guarantees a retirement crisis. That sounds grim, but there is incredible power in knowing exactly how the system fails. Understanding the flaws in the average balance sheet gives you a perfect blueprint of what not to do. You don't need a 6-figure tech salary or a rich relative to beat these statistics. The baseline for financial success is actually set remarkably low. The roadmap out of this trap is just doing the inverse of the average. Push your savings rate past that 6% mark. Refuse to carry a balance on your credit cards, and take whatever surplus you create and consistently invest it into low-cost assets like index funds. Even small tweaks create massive advantages. Reducing average household spending by just $1,000 a month frees up $12,000 a year, a surplus that can turn a projected shortfall into a growing investment portfolio. The financial reality of the average person should be a warning sign, not a goal. You now know exactly what the math of normal looks like. The best financial decision you can make is to choose not to be normal.
Maybe you're lying awake at night thinking about your bank balance, scrolling through social media, and wondering how your friends afford all those vacations. It's easy to look at those posts and feel a creeping sense of panic, a fear that everyone else your age has somehow figured out a secret to saving and building wealth that you completely missed. The problem is, we make these assumptions in a total vacuum. People rarely talk honestly about money, so we guess what normal looks like based entirely on what we see on the surface. To see where you actually stand, we need to pull back the curtain. We are going to build the exact mathematical balance sheet of the average American to see what normal truly looks like on paper. By the time we finish running the numbers, you'll realize that trying to keep up with the average person means following the crowd right over a financial cliff. Let's start right at the top of the ledger with income. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median weekly earnings for a full-time worker come out to about $1,000. Over the course of a year, that is $52,000. Now, that is individual income, not a combined household number. And because it's the median, exactly half of all workers make more than this, and exactly half make less. But you never actually see that full 52 grand. Once federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare take their cuts, that gross number shrinks fast. Depending on where you live, your actual take-home pay drops to somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000. Earning a middle-of-the-pack salary can feel like you're doing okay, but that initial number offers a false sense of security once you calculate the actual dollars hitting your checking account. Here is where the math starts to break down. This chart shows the average American household spends an average of $67,000 a year. That outflow completely eclipses the typical individual take-home pay, meaning a single average income isn't enough to break even. The biggest drain on that budget is housing. Between rent or mortgage payments, property taxes, and utilities, the average household burns through over $22,000 a year just to keep a roof over their heads. Add in transportation, car payments, gas, and insurance, and that eats up another $11,000 annually. Just living somewhere and driving to work takes up nearly half of the entire household budget. Despite these tight margins, people look at one specific metric to convince themselves they're doing fine: their credit score. The average FICO score in America is 715. That is officially considered good credit. But that score hides a harsh reality. To maintain this level of spending, the average household is carrying over $9,000 in credit card debt. Credit cards typically charge interest rates around 20%. Carrying a $9,000 balance means throwing away $1,800 every year just to cover the interest. You get nothing in return for that money. What looks like a perfectly normal middle-class lifestyle on the outside is actually a massive mathematical deficit on the inside. It relies on toxic debt that continually drains personal income straight into the pockets of credit card companies. With expenses running so high and debt payments eating up the rest, Americans only manage to save about 6% of their income after taxes. A 6% savings rate leaves almost zero room for error. If you need to replace a broken water heater, buy a reliable car, or cover a medical emergency, that tiny sliver of savings vanishes instantly. Because they can't hold on to their cash, younger adults struggle to build any real traction. The median net worth for Americans under 35 sits at a sluggish $14,000. Saving 6% simply isn't enough to cover daily life emergencies while investing for the future. The math guarantees that long-term wealth building gets put on hold. Let's fast forward to the end of the timeline to see exactly where these habits lead. The average American stops working and retires at age 61. Right away, there's a problem. You can't collect full Social Security benefits until age 67. That leaves a massive 6-year gap where you have to fund your life entirely yourself. And yet, 1 out of every 4 people arrives at retirement age with absolutely $0 saved in investment accounts. For those who do save, the numbers aren't much better. By the time they hit 65, the median balance in their retirement accounts is just $88,000. If you follow the traditional rule of withdrawing a safe 4% from your nest egg each year, that $88,000 provides you with about $3,500 annually. That comes out to less than $300 per month. That is the ultimate result of the equation. Nearly 4 decades of waking up early, commuting, working hard, and living a perfectly normal life mathematically guarantees a retirement budget of $300 a month. Once you understand the grim math behind the typical lifestyle, you don't need to feel envy when scrolling through social media anymore. Honestly, you should feel a massive sense of relief, because the bar for average is set incredibly low. You do not need to earn a 6-figure salary, inherit a trust fund, or be a Wall Street genius to do better than the rest of the pack. You just have to change a few variables in the equation. Figure out how to live comfortably on slightly less than you earn. If the typical household spends $5,500 a month, finding a way to live on $4,500 instantly frees up $12,000 a year. Then apply that extra capital effectively. Save more than the standard 6%. Ruthlessly pay off your credit card balances so you aren't bleeding interest. And invest whatever is left over into low-cost index funds consistently over time. Use these statistics as a warning sign, not a benchmark to aim for. When normal means ending up completely broke, the highest financial compliment you can ever receive is someone telling you that your habits are abnormal.